And normally Tim would be going do 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 do. Everyone to today's Tim and Jim show. Really excited to be here. Unfortunately, Tim could not be here today, but great to have our good friend Stefan Kaplan step in to be our co-host today. So I'm Jim Fuse with Fusion Marketing, and we've got really excited to talk here in a second about our guest. And Stefan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh man, I'm super psyched to be here, man. I mean, the Tim and Jim show, one of my favorite live stream shows. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me as a co-host today, as a guest co-host. My name's Stefan Kaplan, everybody. I'm a social media and visual strategist. My brand is Spin It Social. And I'm also the host of what's called the Spin It Social Hour, which is where photographers share their work and their journeys every week. Well, actually, now every other Thursday, starting this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And, it's just great to be here with you, Jim.
Thanks. And I'm so excited today to have with us Yifat Cohen. I look at her as one of the leaders in the not only just the world of live stream, but just a great all-around person. I love her her tagline. I call her AK. She's I'm that geek, and she definitely is in a very positive way. I'll just say she's coming to us from an undisclosed location. That's up to her. She wants to tell us where she's coming live from. But Yifat, so excited to have you here today. I know we're going to be talking about how to go from seen to sold out. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, like you said, I'm that geek. And I geek out about everything techie. And it's really funny, Jim, when, the questions that I sometimes get from people, how would you, fix this computer thing? Or how would you? And I'm like, they're like, well, you're that geek. You're the person I think about when I get stuck with computer and software and websites and stuff. So I am very geeky about everything social media, website, engagement, and connection with people. Do you want to go all the way to the days of the Google Plus and all that stuff, or are we good with?
Sure. I think people need to. I don't think people realize how involved and how you've been doing this for a long time, and I'm just amazed at how you develop this stuff. There's so much people can learn from you.
Thank you. So I started, I think remember Facebook. It was when we were in college. Were you in college when Facebook came out? And it was like,
no, I was an old man by then.
You were like,
like what's the internet?
Jim's doing the reverse aging thing.
So Facebook came out, and I really sucked at it. I hardly got any engagement. And I was sharing, right? I was sharing my pregnancy and my thoughts, but doing nothing. Cricket. And then Google Plus came out, and I was one of the 100 people to get an invite to Google Plus. And I found my tribe, right? All the geeks got into Google Plus at the beginning. All of us were like, hey, what is this thing? And it's beta, and how does it work? And what happens when I block you? And what happens when I ignore you? And I became the G Plus go-to gal. At the beginning, I was the only woman who was like, oh my God, this is so cool, let's geek out. And then Hangouts on Air came out, and I was one of the first to get access to that. And I launched a show, which now it's kind of like, you launched a show. But back then, it was like, oh my God, everybody sees me, right? People coming. But the good thing is that I interviewed like really amazing people, and I did something that most people don't do even today, is give access to the audience in my show. So they can come in and they can talk to my guests in real time. And so imagine talking to the vice president of Walt Disney and asking them about the Muppets, right? Or the president of the NAACP and going like, hey, your story, blah, blah. So that kind of like got my audience going. And there was one moment in time where one of my buddies said, this one moment where this little Jewish girl crushed Gary Vee. It was one moment in time where Gary Vee and Guy Kawasaki were having a hangout at the same time that I was having mine. And he knows Gary Vee. And I'm like, we went on 3 times longer than they did. So they went for like 30 minutes. They talked about their book. We went on for like an hour and a half, and we had 4 times the comments, the engagement, the shares, the participation. I'm like, oh my God, right? There's something in this thing that I do that actually gets people engaged.
Mhm.
And then Google hired me and flew me around to talk about their stuff. And I work with the city of Austin and my entire brand, right? It's really awesome. Things are great. And Google wakes up last year and goes like, you know what? We don't feel we don't feel like having this Google Plus anymore. So the biggest lesson was don't build your home on rented properties, right? Even right now, everybody's like, Clubhouse, oh my God, Facebook Live, Instagram, right?
Oh
Where
yeah,
do we need to be?
yeah.
You have to own your audience, right? You have to like really build that connection with people,
No,
independent of the platform.
that's really true. Look what's happening, you thought right now with Twitter and Periscope. You know, a lot of people
Right?
have no idea what's going to happen, including us, right, Jim,
Yeah, all right.
about Periscope. But I mean, I've never laid claim to rented property, as I say. That's I pick and choose the platforms that I like to own, as I say. But you know, you're absolutely right. You always have to think about the future because all these platforms are just that. We're at their mercy.
Yeah, and Yifat, you
Exactly.
actually, yeah, you took that step and you actually live stream on your website.
Mhm.
So,
Mm,
so from the beginning, I was like, you know what? I need to start building my own SEO, my own properties, right? And because I let people come in and talk to my guests in real time, I can't share the link to that conversation publicly, or I'm going to get Zoom bombed back then, right? Like all the people who are like really lazy to come to my website, they'll click on the link from social and just do,
right.
even though back then even when I opened it up, I never ever got Zoom bombed. Like even in the days of Hangouts, for some reason at the beginning, people were really not comfortable being on camera, right? We
Right.
kind of matured a little bit.
Right. Right.
But back then, you would get the most interesting people, the fascinating conversations. So I started with that, right? Like, don't build your home on rented properties. And then when Google shut down, I was like, okay, there's something there that happened there that is independent of the platform
Mhm.
because it's social, right? And so, how do you create conversation on any social platform? And what's funny to me is the difference between principles and tactics, right? Like tactics will change, but principles are the same. And the principle right now that is moving everything and everybody into Clubhouse is the same one that got the engagement on Google Plus at the beginning, which is us humans, we just want to connect,
Mhm.
right? We want to be heard.
Mhm.
We want to be around people where we don't have to explain what a funnel is or what a lead page is, right? You want to be around people that you say opt in. They're like, yeah, of course, funnel. Yeah, okay, automation. I know what you mean,
Right.
right? CPR, PPC. We know these words and we feel like we have a common language. And that doesn't happen on social, right? Because on social, everybody's trying to up each other.
Right.
Look at
Right.
me, right?
Right.
And nobody's going to talk about their failures or their hardship on social because we're being judged by it, right? We always want to be up. So where can we find this connection and these relationships? And so if you start focusing on that, which is what's happening on Clubhouse right now, you
Mhm.
start building really deep, meaningful relationships and you're building an audience and not just getting traffic, right? And so that's the biggest difference. And so I've had years with Google Plus, kind of like practicing the art of engagement. And then Google Plus shut down. I'm like, okay, let's take that art of engagement and move that into live streaming, move that into social, move that into launches. Um, and that generated like really amazing results for my clients in money, in relationship, in sales, right? Repeat buyers, in
Right.
referrals.
Right.
And I turned that into a system, which is called from same to sold out. Uh,
Yeah, in fact, I
long
wanna
story
share
short,
this. Yeah, I wanna share this because, yeah, this is something that, you've got a great visual on this. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
let's kinda get into this. So Ifat, explain to us, if you can, this process and where I think maybe how these platforms can help us along this path.
yeah. So everybody's online, right? And we're getting more and more people online every day. And all we see is kind of like make money, wake up tomorrow and make $1 million in a day, in a night, right? And you're like stuck at your job, at your office, go like, I got to try this online thing. And so when you're at that stage, you're in the shiny object mode because you're like, ooh, I need to do email. Ooh, I need to do Canva. I need to go live. Ooh, I need to do Instagram. Ooh, I need to do this, right? And really good marketing makes you feel like you will not do great without that product. So every good marketing goes like, oh, I gotta buy this course because I can't be a coach unless I'm certified. Oh, I gotta buy this thing. And you're like in this shiny object and you're buying, 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 and nothing's really working yet, right? Because you're like, doesn't happen. And then you go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna commit. And you make that commitment and you move to the next level, which is starting. So now you commit and you go like, you know what? I'm gonna go all in on this live streaming thing. I'm gonna do a live stream every day for 30 days, and I'm gonna hone it out. And you start to take action on one thing and move. And then it becomes, you get to the next level, which is consistency. Now you start to do it every day, and you start to be consistent, and you are at that level of seeing, because now you're doing things every day, and you're putting things out there, and you're engaging, and you're participating with people, and people start to see you. And that's where most people get stuck, right? Like they're consistent, they're seeing, they're getting some views, they're getting some likes, stuff like that. But to move to the next level of soul, you have to bridge that gap of trust, right? Trust and connection, especially when you start talking about like the 500, 1,000, 2,500, $10,000 prices. If you're at the $20 price, you make some sales. It's not a biggie, right? People will spend $20, be like, oh, I lost it, not a biggie. But then you start building that connection with a few people, you're making some sales, and you're at that last level where you just cannot move far enough. And to make that jump, you have to start really engaging with people, which means you have to make the shift from broadcasting to actually engaging. Less content put out there and more talking to people, DMing them, responding, engaging. Once you do that, and when you start getting the sales in place, and people are seeing you, then you can make the next shift, which is when you become kind of like the Simon Sinek or the Brene Brown. Like if I'm going like, who's that guy that jumps from hot air balloons and does all these crazy things? Who's that guy?
Not me.
I think it's Tim. No, I don't know. I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
Richard Branson, right, from Virgin. He's the CEO
Oh,
that
yes.
jumps.
Oh,
Right?
Richard Branson, that little guy.
That guy, right? Who's that guy that talks about funnels all the time?
Oh, that's is it Michael Brunson?
Russell Branson,
Russell
right?
Brunson. Russell. Yeah. Yes.
Russell
Yes.
Branson. Who's that marketer with the surfer marketer that now is like all about Facebook ads and stuff?
Oh, I know
Oh,
you're
you're
talking
The
getting
about.
us
surfer
some
guy,
good
the one that
ones.
was like, on the waves back in the Frank Kern. Who's the guy with the Bentleys and the Ferraris in the garage?
Oh,
Yeah. Boy,
I'm
Jim,
giving you the
she's getting us on
one,
these.
right?
she knows her stuff. I know, right? Like, but you can think, but you remember seeing the images.
Right.
That's the thing. The name doesn't always come to you right away, but it's like, wait, I know I've seen it, and I think that's part of that consistency.
Sold, right? Like real estate. Who's that guy? You know the guy? The
Oh,
10x guy. Who's the 10x guy?
oh yeah, Grant Cardone.
So you get to the point where you occupy the space of a word, right? Like funnels, Russell Branson, 10x, Grant Cardone. You get to that celebrity part where you're not chasing people anymore. They're going like, okay, I need funnels. Let me go to ClickFunnels. I need, real estate advice or selling advice. Let me go to Grant Cardone. Like you start grabbing that little space in people's head, and it happens after you make the connection, and all your clients become your brand ambassadors because they go like, oh my God, I tried ClickFunnels. It's the best thing ever. You guys have to try it. And now they're starting sending traffic your way, and you get to the sold out. And so this is kind of like a staircase that most people take, right? They move from the shiny object to the start, to the scene, to the soul. But there's a way to take an elevator and like just jump up to the sold and the sold out. And the way to take that elevator is in a five step system. I call it instant trust. And it's basically starting to have these private conversations that we're having publicly with everyone at scale. So
Right.
if you notice, most of your sales conversation or the best advice that you give people happens in silo, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas,
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? Nobody knows. And the challenge is that you're having all these amazing conversations with people, and now you're like, okay, let me create content.
Right.
Two different things, right? You have that connection content and you have that selling content, and it's a struggle because that those conversations are the ones that actually get you the sales and get you the visibility and
Right.
build the trust and get you out there. So rather than having them in silo, inside webinars, in sales calls, in strategy calls, have them live. Write this like this, right? Where everybody can see them, share them everywhere, and that becomes your content.
Right.
And now, rather than going like, I am the best salesperson online, right? You're watching me help someone else in real time, and you're going like, oh my God, I had that question too. Oh my God, she actually knows what she's talking about. Oh, let me ask her a question, right? And you start having these conversations with your audience in real time, unscripted, and you
Right.
start building content connection and you're moving to the next levels.
Well, that's one of the things that I find really exciting and also really fantastic about live streaming is that, you know, I believe in total transparency. My social timelines are pretty much an open book in many ways, more so on Facebook than anywhere. I built a tremendous crowd through Facebook, LinkedIn as well in many ways. Twitter, I step a lot more cautiously with being you know, ultra transparent, but honesty, integrity, and putting forth what you're about day in and day out. As you said, being consistent. Consistency is the first step. And that's why I loved when I saw that on your ladder there, because if you're not consistent, then everything else is going to fall by the wayside. I tell people in social, you always need to take little steps every day. Rather, don't worry about doing too much every day. If you don't have time, especially small businesses and things like that, focus on something every day. At least you're putting something out there every day that's true to form, you know?
Totally. And you know, if you're looking at wanting to stand out in social,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're like bombarded
Right.
with
Oh
so
my God.
much,
It's like a tsunami
right?
every day. Yeah.
Right? And it's so hard to know who to trust, right?
Right.
Especially now, like with COVID. Do you really know what's going on? I'm like,
Right.
fudge, I don't know. Like, should we take the
Right.
vaccine? Should we not take the vaccine? What's going, you know, like, is it true? Is it not true? There's an African mutation. There's a British mutation. You know, the Chinese are coming. The Russians are coming. We should, you
The
know.
British are coming.
Right, it's kind of like you just don't know, and it's so
Right.
hard, right? Like it puts you in this mindset of like, you know, unless my friend came in and
Right.
told me that I should buy this thing, I'm not doing anything, right?
Right.
Um, and so how do you overcome that? How do you become that trusted advisor that Jim goes like, hey, Stefan, you should talk to Yifat? Like, how do you get other people to refer you?
Right.
And the only way to do that, I think, is to stop producing so much and
Right.
like go on other people's stuff and engage with them, right? And just have
Absolutely.
this conversation. But
Absolutely.
we don't do that, right? We're like, content calendar, interactive posts, more videos.
You know, that's something that's really interesting, Jim. I don't know how you feel about it, but I mean, I know you're just such a total pro, but the content calendars are something that always just, I'll say this honestly, it just kind of drives me a little nuts because I think that it's important to be on point and have a schedule and all those things. Listen, organization is something that I think everybody can always do better, right? But
Mhm.
I think being a slave to a content calendar is also detrimental to your social because there comes points where flexibility is a lot more important and going with the flow is a lot more important than being a slave to a content calendar because things happen every day now, especially in this life of ours, where you need to be flexible, adaptable, and go with the flow in many ways. But that's where having the experience that many of us have, thankfully, and hopefully other people hire us for, is the fact that you have to know how to do that, and you just can't jump in. I don't mean go with the flow and just jump in, but it's the years of experience that serve us and hopefully others who do that well, right, Yifat?
Totally. The fact that, like, we've been in the game for a while, right? So if we get stuck, we just pick up the phone or we message one of us, right? And we go like, "Hey, Jim, I saw you do that on the show. How'd you do that?" Right? Whereas most of the people, thanks, Avi. Most of the people, they don't have that circle of friends who can actually elevate them, right? And so they're looking at all this information coming in, going like, I want to move from the shiny object to the start to the scene. Like, I want to be seen, right? And how do I do this? Because everything that I've tried so far, the free, the $20, the $59, doesn't get me there, right? And I think we have such a fantastic opportunity right now, because in 5 years, the internet, AI is going to take over. We're going to have so much more fake news. We're going to have deep fake, right? Privacy is going to become a big issue. And people are going to flock into communities, right? Communities that deliver value. And if we're looking at that, that's 5 years from now, right? People are going to find their tribes. Our opportunity today is to build a tribe, right? And prepare for what's coming in 5 years.
Right.
And the only way to actually build a tribe that lasts that long is if we focus on the connection, not the information.
That's right.
Information is out there, right?
That's right.
We're going to have information, like in 5 years, it's going to be even more, you don't even have to text. You just be like, on the wall.
Yifat, I'm interested in finding out how your approach and how you feel about engagement, because I'm huge on engagement, and I'm huge on what I call networking with purpose. It sounds a little like hokey at first when people hear it, but I really do believe there's a difference between networking and networking with purpose, where you're really trying to truly engage with people rather than just the normal comebacks of all the time, like, wow, great photo, or this or that, or everything else. I mean, every photo everybody posts online is a great photo. I'm like, enough already.
Well, come on, Stefan, you're a photographer, so of course you're going to
No. I'm not going there. I'm not being. Thank you, but no, seriously, honestly, what I mean by that is that hone your engagement skills and dig deep into finding and coming back at people with real purposeful comebacks rather than the same generic stuff all the time. It's almost like canned laughter.
Yeah.
Right.
My biggest
thing, I don't have that on a laugh track.
You have a laughter button, don't you? Come on, I've heard it on this show.
Tim does, but I haven't used it yet.
My biggest pet peeve is when you ask a question online and people like it. I'm like, what is that supposed to, like?
Right.
What are you saying? I saw it and I don't feel like answering.
Right.
Like, what's the point of your like?
Right.
So I think engagement in my mind is exactly what Jim was saying at the beginning when we were talking at Clubhouse, kind of like in the green room.
Right.
Where he said, I build really good relationships because I went on stage and I said something meaningful, and people went like, oh my God, that guy has something to say. And then a conversation happened. And when you're doing that purposefully, right, on, let's say Facebook, right? Let's say in your niche, your photography, it's so much easier to look at all the posts in photography groups, find the questions, and actually give a meaningful answer, right? And not going like, oh, buy my shit, right? That's a great person. I have some products for you to buy, right? But you actually have and develop a conversation, and it's really easy when you're passionate about the topic.
Right.
Most people go like, oh, I want to sell cupcakes. Let me go and find out who wants to buy cupcakes. Right. Oh yeah, buy my cups, right? Like, oh yeah. Well, if you're not passionate about it, there's nothing.
Well, that's what comes through with you and other people who have really shined in this field is it really does come back to purpose and passion. That's another big thing of mine. I worked with AARP's Life Reimagined platform for about 5 years, and I met some really incredible thought leaders, many of them professors at different universities. And I read a book called The Power of Purpose. by Richard Leiter. I'm not plugging him, just saying the truth. The bottom line is that it changed my life. Meeting Richard and Christine Whalen and other people who have written on purpose. Purpose and passion are what it's all about. Right, Yifat?
Yeah.
Well, and I think, going back to Ifat's comment earlier. So yesterday, I was in a clubhouse room with my friend Judy Fox, and Judy brought up the point. She's looked at as a LinkedIn expert, and she definitely is. But like, she's not posting a lot now, and so she's had people like, "Well, I'm not seeing a lot of posts," but she's engaging all the time, daily. And so when you look at what people do, and this goes back to some of what Ifat says, like, look at my cupcakes, come and buy them. But wouldn't you get more out of it if you went and just had conversations with people and say, well, what does this person do? Oh, they sell cupcakes.
Right.
I think I want to check them out because they're genuine, real people, as opposed to just throwing stuff up, hoping people are going to buy your course, hire you to do this or do that. Because it all comes down to know, like, and trust, and we want to do business with people.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people are getting, caught up in this thing. And so I think, if anything, what this time has done is it's allowed us to have more conversations over these last 9 months and really start to get to know people. And people have had to get on camera, right? So many more Zoom just meetings for business to operate. So I think those are very important things. And I think, what Ifat has hit on earlier, these steps, right? It's like when you look at consistency, Tim and I have been doing this every week since August of 2018.
Right.
Didn't happen overnight, right? If it'd been episode 1 and I had asked Ifat, hey, would you be on our show? She'd be like, who are you? But it took time, right? And being consistent.
Well, you guys built a family now, a community where people come, including myself, to hear some great experts every week and have an open mind. And, I don't care how good you are in your field, there's always something to learn, to learn from everybody. Yifat, how do you feel about storytelling? Because in that ladder, I know that, can you show that again, Jim?
Sure.
The diagram, because it is a good diagram. Commitment, consistency, connection. Okay, we get to the top. Of course, we want to reach the top, but in there, I would feel that, along that whole line, there has to be a tremendous value in great storytelling. How do you feel about storytelling, Yifat?
I wish I was better at it. You're absolutely right.
I read your timeline, and I was reading a lot of things. You're very transparent, and you're very witty and open about a lot of things, and that's what I quickly already learned to appreciate about you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because my Google Plus days, because it was such beta and there was no right way of doing it, I was just being me, right? So there were so many mistakes. Like, I remember one post that I wrote, have you had a quantum shift lately? When was it? And I forgot the F in shift. And the comments.
Oh my God. Isn't that amazing?
Someone was like, I just had one this morning. On the toilet. I finished an entire magazine. Come on, guys, answer the question.
Wow, you made a typo.
Like, don't tell her, right? And it's just and because I was so comfortable in Google Plus, I was like, oh, it's not a biggie, right? When someone told me, I changed it, and then people who came later didn't know what the whole hoopla was about. But I often, English is not my first language. I mispronounce words. There are words that I cannot say in English. And in Google Plus, it didn't matter, right? It was just me, and the whole thing just built around me and my personality. The minute I wanted to sell something, the minute I had a program, all of a sudden, oh, you need copywriting, or you need to write emails that open, or you need to, have a structure in a way. And that takes the entire voice out of it, right? Like, now you try to fit into this how to write ads and how to write posts and how to write an opt-in page and how to write an email and how to convert and look at the numbers. And it takes all the spirit and the soul and everything out of it, right? And so my storytelling skills diminished because now I'm writing to sell and I'm not writing to be me or to share or to help or serve, right? So once I realized that this is happening, I'm like, okay, this is what's happening to a lot of us because, we can just be ourselves and attract everybody that we want to work with because we're ourselves, right? And we don't worry about the likes and the comments and the share and the stuff. We just worried about sharing and being us. And and that's where that's where we kind of like the consistency and the connection, right? We're doing everything the way the gurus tell us to do, but then to actually connect with people you have to drop all that stuff, right? And you have to be you, and you can be quirky, and you can mispronounce words, and you can make typos, and nobody's gonna hate you for that, right? They'll actually connect with you because you're human, and you're like, oh, okay, she makes mistakes too, right? Like, she's just like me.
Well,
she messes up words as well. Right?
That's the interesting thing about. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about live streaming, right, Jim? That, with live streaming, one of the things I really appreciate about certain live streamers, like Ross Brand, for instance, is that who does StreamYard Connect. But the thing is about Ross is that he's just so genuine, I love him because when I watch him and he does, even if, listen, we all make little mistakes. You make a little mistake, he's like, whatever, you move on. It's about being genuine, and that's one of the real interesting things about live streaming,
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what? I think live streaming, this is the only way that we can connect person to person is in real time like this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Before COVID, we had live events.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have live events.
Right.
So this is the only way I really feel like, people can truly connect with one another. And it's beautiful because we have technology, right? I'm in Israel, you guys are in the States, and we can still have a fantastic conversation because of technology.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, think about
that. Because it is real. Right. Yeah. But this is a real conversation. It's in real time. The people like Jeff and Scott and Amy that are joining us live, right? We're able to see them and connect with them, and thank you all for joining us today. I mean, that's the power of this, right? It's not like, oh, let me record a video, cut out all the bad parts, make it look like it's perfect. This is it. This is real. There's no editing. It's it's like, and I think I actually like it more than having to sit there and like, well, because it's almost like you're trying to plan every move.
Right.
It's like, I don't know what the next word is going to come out of my voice.
No, I mean, that is the truth. That's the thing about, with social media in general, Yifat and Jim, is that you can sit back, as we all know, and be a part of it in many ways, but you don't necessarily have to truly 100% contribute. But live streaming, now you're on, that's it. There's no pulling back. So you're on screen and people will know. And that's the real secret sauce that I love about it, is that people will know and find your true, your genuine ways by listening to you every time you're on. So you're going to have to bring it and keep it real. That's why I love the hashtag keep it real. Because if you can't keep it real live, you'll be found out really fast and goodbye,
Yeah.
Totally.
So Yifat,
totally.
You had brought something up, before, and I did want to bring this up. This is like a little bit more, not to say this show isn't serious to begin with, but you brought up the point that what kills more people than obesity, smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and alcoholism? And so I was very curious to hear what your answer was to that question.
Yeah. Do you guys have a guess? Do you have a guess for what it is?
So what kills people more than obesity, alcohol, and what else?
Smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Obesity.
I'm going to say sitting.
Yeah, I was going to say sitting these days because that's all we do.
You want to say what? Sitting?
Yeah. I'll take a stab at that too.
Yeah, no, actually, it's loneliness.
Loneliness.
People
Oh,
who are alone and isolated.
Mm,
Yeah, and this was before the pandemic.
mm,
Now with the pandemic,
mm.
it's actually affecting youngsters like
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So even more people are committing suicide. Um,
Mm,
they're taking pills, getting depressed, and
mm,
and the reason why I'm bringing it up here is because we are in the middle of a pandemic.
mhm.
We are we are closed in our houses, and we are deprived of the one thing that makes us human, right?
Social
That human
contact.
connection
Yep.
with each other.
Yep.
Um, and it goes back to what we were talking about before, the principle of humanity, where we need that connection with each other. We need that community. Uh, we need a group, right? we
Right.
need we need something that we feel like we belong.
Right.
And there's so many people who are alone in their houses. They're
Right.
just alone, right? Like the pandemic, you have to be in your house, just you and yourself.
Right.
And thank goodness we have the internet. Thank
Right.
goodness we have live streams.
Oh, I
Thank
know.
goodness we have Zoom,
I know.
right? Like
Now, could you
imagine
imagine?
yourself in Cuba and there's no internet,
I was going to say, could you imagine
you know.
us back
um
during the
so
earlier pandemic? Without the technology, Yifat?
right. Yeah. No. Yeah. If we didn't have the
you will
internet,
kill yourself, right? Like just thinking about
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it'd be amazing.
um
wow.
so even though my bandwidth is really bad, I'm very grateful to be here with you guys. But if you think about the opportunity that we have to actually help people out there right now and create these communities, whether they are on Telegram, whether they are on
Right.
Facebook, wherever you feel, whether it's on your website, don't build your home on rented properties. But the opportunity right now is you are actually saving lives, right? You'll be saving lives right
Mm,
now if you're focusing on connection and community.
mm,
Um, and that's really what from seen to sold out is all about, is like how do you build that connection with people
mm.
where they can't stop singing your praises,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
you know.
I think, that you're so on point about spot on about all of it. Community really, this is a marvel. I mean, listen, we're in a pandemic. It is as horrible as it's getting right now, from Los Angeles to Prague, you name it. It's really bad right now. But, I don't want to use the word silver lining, but there is something positive that comes out in every tragic
Yeah,
situation.
yeah,
One of the things that we're getting to here, and that you've alluded to and hit on, is the during this pandemic, look at what we're able to do now, connecting in this whole new way. I mean, I went out, I bought all this new stuff now, and this is a new way of forming a real community. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And just
yeah.
like you
And
said, talking to Ephod in Israel, you're in New
Yeah.
York, I'm in Georgia.
What a
I
marvel.
mean, it's amazing.
It's magic. I mean, it really is magic. And,
right,
thanks
and,
to
and, and I'm bitching about my internet, my slow internet. I'm bitching about my connection.
no,
Imagine I had none.
your connection has been
Right.
fine. There's always going to be something, but it's your beautiful aura and the way you are that makes people want to listen to you, you know?
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So
Jim has that
we
aura
started
too.
this with like how Jim does have that aura.
He does.
Well,
He
And
does.
you too
Tim
with
does.
the hat.
Tim does too, but he's hiding today. He took the day off. So
no, I'm loving this conversation. And Tim's not here, but we'll real quick, we'll say hi to Tim. So Tim's doing the
yes.
Tim for us. So, give everyone a smile. He always cringes when I throw that up during the show, but it's like, what? So that's thanks to my friend Chris Stone for creating that.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You got to have life in what you do. You have to bring your true meaning. If you're going to come online and you're going to go live, do it for the fact that you genuinely want to communicate with people. Number one, everything else comes second.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Ifat, what
And so
do you
my
see?
call to
No, I was going to say, what do you see as
go
like the
ahead.
big advances in the next, say, 6 to 12 months that people should be paying attention to? Uh-oh, I think she froze.
She may have
Sorry, say
frozen.
that again. I didn't hear you.
I said, what do you see as the big advances in the next
Yeah,
6
say
to
it
12
again. I
months?
didn't hear you.
What do you see as the advances in the next 6 to 12 months that we should be paying attention to? I know you're on Telegram. We've talked about Clubhouse. What are some of those things that you think people should be thinking of, especially with connecting?
So deep fake is becoming more and more ingrained in what we're doing. And if you're not familiar with deep fake, it's basically the ability to take someone's selfie, turn it into a video, and put their voice on it, and creating videos and images and audio that people never said ever. So if you're actually looking it up, you can find Obama. There's a video of Obama saying things that he would never say, and it's a comedian talking for him. And the challenge with that is we don't know who to trust anymore. And so now we have these groups. Many foreigners have it on WhatsApp. I don't know where Americans have it, but there are groups like, instead of going to Google and looking for a plumber, I just go to my friends and go like, hey, do you know a plumber? I need an electrician. Do you have a babysitter? Where do I buy blah, blah, blah. And so conversations are moving from the public to the private. And the challenge for us as business owners and marketers is that how do we become that person that everybody else recommends, right? Hey, do you know a marketer? Yeah, go talk to Stefan. Do you know a photographer? Yeah, go to, right? How do you become that trusted advisor that people are talking about? Because conversations are moving away from public eyes. And it goes back to the same principle, right? Like, you need to be that trusted advisor that helps people, does good job, offer values, and then people refer to. So I think, if you see technology, right? Technology is taking over our lives more and more, right? You have Alexa. You don't need to think about anything anymore because Alexa will remind you. You don't have to think about how the traffic, because Google will remind you. So we're moving, technology is making our life so much easier. The one thing that we don't have is that connection with each other, right? And I think the more technology does, the more free time we will have to actually interact with each other. And we see that in Clubhouse. People are spending hours in Clubhouse just talking to each other, right? And I think that's going to move away from technology to the little communities on the street, to like, who's in my circle. And we have this opportunity to build a circle with people that we love to hang out with. And it's, the opportunity is right now, right? Like, this is our time to actually build a community, give some value, and own that audience, so that when technology comes in, we're not drowning and like lost in the crowd of everything that's happening there.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm really interested in seeing, Jim and Yifat, is where we're going, because this, you think about this. I'm really interested in seeing where we're going to go once we stabilize this, because to me, it's, so all of this is being done right now. We're forming these new communities through live streaming, online, all this stuff. And businesses too are doing so many, between many businesses, including Twitter, letting people now, even they said when the pandemic's over, everybody's going to work from home, right? From now on, remotely. What is going to be the intersection of things, like when we get this under control? Are more people going to still be interested in staying online mainly? I know me as an extreme extrovert who craves human contact. I can't wait to be around groups of people again with masks, whatever it takes, as long as we're together. But so I'm really interested in seeing where we go 6 months, 12 months from now, hopefully sooner rather than later. How about you guys?
I think it's going to become more of a hybrid thing. Yeah, go ahead, Yifat.
Yeah. But you'll be, right? You're going to be pickier on who you're spending your time with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think people will be. I think we've learned that being isolated for so long, that it's more important to connect with a core group rather than connect with those who are just taking up space in our brains and in our souls and spirits. you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think about this, right, if we don't trust the news anymore, we don't trust the media, we have to trust someone to keep us updated on what's going on,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so we have to listen to someone. And that someone is going to be someone that we can actually connect with and not just watch,
Right. Well, I think,
right? It has to be someone that we actually have a conversation and not just
yeah,
be like, oh, that CNN anchor that I don't know, right? Like
right.
you have to have someone that you trust. And so you can be the go-to person, like I was for Google Plus. You can be the go-to person for technology, the go-to person for photography, the go-to person for, anything cooking,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because I build this relationship with you. So you're my guy.
Right.
And if you're my guy, then it doesn't matter if someone else comes in with a cheaper product, they're not my guy,
Well, I think that's
right? And
why.
so we have such a fantastic opportunity right now.
I think that's why it's really important, being an old news person myself, 20 years at the New York Times as a photo editor, is that, it's important for, to the trust issue, that everybody from people like great anchors like Don Lemon on down, they've built the trust. So,
Yes,
there are plenty of great news people out there that people should trust. But the question is, have they built that relationship with their audience? And many have. So I just wanted to give that little, insight as a former journalist who now does social media, as a photojournalist, that it's important to distinguish in the media that there are plenty who have built that trust. You know.
But I agree though a lot with what Efat's saying in the
Mhm.
perspective of it really is going to be like, how do I trust you
Right.
if you're part of a group that is putting out untrustworthy information, no
Okay.
matter who it's coming from. So unless I really get to know, like, and trust you, and I know, like, you know what, I know Efat always tells the truth, I'm going to believe her, as
Right.
opposed to, is this person being forced to say something because that's their job? And I think those are two completely
Sure.
separate things. And I
Sure.
think
Sure.
that's where, as we build it, right, it's a lot like closed networking groups. It's like if somebody asks me, "Hey, I need an electrician." Well, I know someone. I have a relationship with them. It's like, you can trust Steph, and he's the best electrician around. I wouldn't even go to anybody else, and they're going to do that. They're not even going to think twice
right.
because
Right.
there's too much information out there, right?
Right.
Go type electrician in Google or go type.
Yeah,
You're like, I don't even know where to start, right? And
Right.
so I think the human to human referral connections is really what's going to be important,
Right.
and how we do that. Things like Telegram that Efat's been using for a while. We'll see what happens with Clubhouse because you've got Twitter, right? Just bought, I think it's Beaker or Breaker,
oh,
and they're going to start using them for audio. So is
Oh.
Twitter trying to create their own form of Clubhouse? But there's a ton of people that don't trust Twitter.
Hmm.
And it goes
Well,
back to the rented land
right.
analogy.
yeah. Well, that goes to a friend of mine, a great journalist, who actually is in charge of Nat Geo's newsletters now, David Beard. David Beard has worked for Pointer and many big organizations out there, and he's always said that you can take your social and you can shape it and put it together in any way you want. So I think it's important. You talk about Google Circles a lot, and Google, back in the days. The one thing that is great about that type of community building that way is that you could do the same thing with your Twitter feed and many things, is find the people that you trust, and create those groups, and those are the sources that you should go to. you know just don't go looking everywhere on the internet and Google
Yeah.
something and find somebody and just believe it. Do your research.
Yeah. So I want to
Yeah.
thank everyone for
Yeah.
joining us today. Ifat, what are you working on that people might be interested in right now? Ifat, what are you working on right now that people
So
might be interested in?
if you're a content creator, you're already creating. Yeah, if you're a content creator that wants to move from the seen to the sold, uh, keep an eye on my Telegram and my Facebook, because I'm going to show you. I'm preparing some presentation to show you how to do that. If you are just starting out, then I have a course. It's called From A to Z without the BS in the middle. And it's basically how to get you up and running as quickly as you can with as little BS and shiny objects as you can. So I'll be sharing more about that, but I would love to find you in my Telegram. I share private information there, private pictures, stories about Israel, family, news, all that jazz, and we can actually interact with each other.
Awesome.
So yeah, you like
Yes.
that name? What do you
I
think?
love
You
that
like
from
that?
A to
I
I
love
love
it.
that
I
from
love
A to
it.
Z without the BS in the middle. That is really good. Very good. All right.
It
Thank
it's
you.
you, right? You don't pull any punches. You say it like it is. That's one of the things I think is awesome. So next week we're gonna have and I'm probably gonna butcher his name. Junaid Ahmed will be joining us. Tim will be back, I think. If not, Stefan, be prepared. But Stefan,
Yes.
thank you for stepping in today.
It's
And
my pleasure.
as always, a pleasure to speak with you. I've been fortunate to be on several live shows with you over the past 6 to 12 months, and I enjoy it every time. You're an amazing, I'll say young woman, since I know you were on Facebook in college and I wasn't. So continued success to you. Love to have you back again sometime. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you all next week.